Welcome, everyone, to What to Watch Live, the show where we discuss the best in TV and entertainment this week. My name is David, and today I'm joined by my fellow Xfinity editors, Scott and Quam, and together we are the Three Amigos.
Hello.
How is everyone today?
Delightful.
Good.
We're doing amazing.
Good. Well, we have another big show for you today, including a special appearance by Oscar winner Adrien Brody, an anniversary celebration for some of our favorite 90s Nickelodeon shows, and we get ready for WWE Summerslam with a look at our favorite grapplers from the squared circle. Let's kick things off, as always, within the news. MTV has announced the nominees for this year's Video Music Awards, which air live from New York City on September 12th. Here to tell us more about this year's top nominees is our very own music editor, Quam.
Thank you, David. Yes, so this year's nominees are some of the biggest artists in music, some of the biggest songs in music. We have the Artist of the Year, which feature artists like Megan Thee Stallion, Olivia Rodrigo. We have Video of the Year, which features awesome songs like WAP, which is my personal favorite, Driver's License. We have Best New Artist, also featuring Olivia Rodrigo. And honestly, I just want to get y'all opinions about who you want to see win the most. Who do you want to see take home awards, or who you don't want to see take home awards? David, I'll toss it to you.
Go ahead, Scott. Oh, you're going to toss it to me first? Okay, I'll take it. So... No, it's all good. So I'm really excited about Doja Cat's Kiss Me More and Dua Lipa's Levitating, which are two of my favorite songs of the year and of the summer. I was really surprised to see Ariana Grande nominated as Artist of the Year, but not get nominations for Video or Song of the Year, which was kind of surprising to me. But she did get a nomination for Best Pop Song for Positions. But I'm most excited about the Song of the Year category because it's like totally stacked with Leave the Door Open, WAP, Driver's License, Levitating. I think it's going to be a big night for Olivia Rodrigo. She's nominated for Best New Artist. Like, undeniably, she's had one of the biggest years out of seemingly nowhere. But again, like, it's going to be hard to like deny Megan Thee Stallion or Nicki or like, Bruno Mars and I couldn't think of their name. What is it? Supersonic?
Silk Sonic.
Something? Silk Sonic.
How could you forget that's my iconic name?
That's the old man in me coming out there. The last thing I'll mention that I had no idea Evanescence is still making music, and they have a nomination in the Best Rock category for some song called Use My Voice. So like totally shocked by that.
That was like proper flashback, that category, because wasn't it like the Killers? It was Evanescence, and there was someone and the Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters?
Right? And it's like,
yeah,
what? Who knew these people were still making music? Certainly not me, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys both know that pop music isn't really my forte. Like the most exposure I usually have to this, like my partner singing it from the shower to varying levels of success. But yeah, for me, Quam, I think like Lil Nas X is doing the most for the queer community, so like I'm excited to see him in there for Video of the Year. So happy to keep going for that one. That's my vote. So yeah.
And he's in terms of like my. Oh,
go ahead.
What were you about to say, David?
I was going to say that like in terms of iconic music moments of the year, Lil Nas X splitting his pants live on SNL during his performance is right up there. So based on that alone, he deserves so much, but he's like totally defied the genre of being like a queer artist in the hip hop R&B space. So like really, really amazing. So I think he could have a really big night as well.
Agreed. And I was going to just echo Scott, saying I am rooting for Montero to get Video of the Year. I mean, when you do a lap dance on The Devil, I think you're a shoo-in to win that category. So I am definitely rooting for Lil Nas X in that category. Also, I'm rooting for WAP as well, because that was a bomb in that music video. So scandalous. And I love this so much for all the
so scandalous.
Yeah. So Quam, if people want to check out nominees and get more from the Video Music Awards, what is the voice command for that?
They can simply just say MTV Video Music Awards into their Xfinity voice remotes to get all the nominees.
There it is. So now that we have taken care of news business, let's find out what everyone's talking about in a segment called Does It Hold Up? Believe it or not, today marks the 25th anniversary of beloved millennial TV series Kenan and Kel, which premiered on Nickelodeon August 17th, 1996. The show is currently featured in our 90s Stuff collection, alongside fellow Nickelodeon favorites Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy, which just celebrated their 30th anniversaries just last week. If you haven't seen it, the 90s Stuff collection was personally curated by me and features the best in TV, movies, music, sitcom theme songs, and commercials from 30 years ago. But these Nickelodeon anniversaries had Scott, Quam, and I thinking about some of our favorite Nickelodeon series from the past and wondering, do they still hold up? So I'm actually going to get this started with one of my favorite Nickelodeon series from the 90s, and that was Salute Your Shorts. And as luck would have it, there are 10 episodes available to watch right now on X1 and Flex with Paramount Plus. If you're not familiar with the show, it follows the misadventures of teenagers at a summer camp called Camp Anawana. They live, they laugh, and they love to torture head counselor Kevin Ugg Lee. Ugg Lee, that's the joke. We were all kids. It was hilarious. I recently gave a rewatch to one of my favorite episodes entitled Cheeseburgers in Paradise, in which all the campers are unhappy with the food at Anawana, and Donkey Lips and Sponge join the wrestling team to try and win a lobster dinner, while Budnick cooks up a scheme to order burgers for the entire camp. Of course, Ugg tries to foil the plot. I was so surprised by how much of this episode I actually remembered, like point for point. I remembered things that happened and lines of dialogue. And compared to Hey Dude, which I don't think holds up, honestly, I was kind of bored rewatching episodes of Hey Dude. I think Salute Your Shorts was an absolute joy. And yes, it absolutely does hold up. So, Quam, I know... Yeah?
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to say, I totally agree with you on this one. I had a very similar moment recently where I came back to the show and started rewatching it from the beginning. Loved watching it. Actually, I think it was 2 or 3 episodes in. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the one where they were telling a campfire story about the old janitor or something with the plunger.
Zeke the plumber.
Creepy. Yeah, that was so. It was actually kind of scary. Like I could see myself being scared of that as a child, and I'm like, well done, Salute Your Shorts, for defying your genre as like a little sitcom, and going into a little touch of horror, because everybody needs that in their life.
That was an awesome episode. Something I always remember from that episode is that they spread bags of potato chips around to alert them to someone coming in the woods crunching on the chips. And those are just like weird things that just stick with me all these years. And the funny thing about Salute Your Shorts is, and I should have looked this up before the show started, I think there were only like a couple dozen, like maybe 30 so episodes produced of that show. But it felt like there were hundreds of them because they aired them constantly on Nickelodeon back in the day. So you never really got the sense that it ever ended. It just aired continuously all the time.
I feel like that was a lot of my children, like my TV growing up as a child. It just felt like, because it was always in syndication, like you just kind of felt like the show was never like, there was never like a season. I never watched it like straight through. It was always just random episodes here and there that I picked up, and it's great. It's wonderful.
There were only 26 episodes of Salute Your Shorts. Can you believe it? 26. I thought it was like 10 seasons long, running from 92 to like 2000. Unreal. Quam, you were just maybe not even born when Salute Your Shorts started, but I know you have some 90s Nickelodeon favorites. What was your favorite show?
So I have not heard about Salute Your Shorts, because I think it's, like you said, it's very low key. It's definitely before my time. But a show I think everyone is familiar with is The Amanda Show. The Amanda Show is such an iconic show. It has so many great moments that people still reference today, like the girls' room, or Bring in the Dancing Lobsters, or her parody of Judge Judy. It is such an iconic 90s show that was just, a big moment for my generation and just big moment for, I think, TV in general, and really, just propelled Amanda Bynes into like instant stardom. So the Amanda Show, I think it definitely holds up because for all the reasons I listed, it's still iconic to this day. And yeah, who doesn't love dancing lobsters? Let's be honest.
Well, I personally am allergic to shellfish, so not a fan of the dancing lobster.
The dancing lobsters would kill Scott. Trying to kill Scott with his lobsters?
Come on.
I
apologize, Scott.
I've never seen an episode of The Amanda Show, and sorry, I didn't expect that.
No, how? It's such an iconic show, David.
I had outgrown it. I had outgrown Nickelodeon a little bit by the time The Amanda Show came around. Although I have learned about the dancing lobsters because they have been like all over Instagram and Twitter. It's a big thing. But like you were saying those other quotes, and I'm like, I have no idea what those are. I've never heard of them.
Oh my god!
But it is a testament to like obviously how many generations Nickelodeon spans, and everyone has this like iconic show from their time period. This just isn't one of mine, but I know Scott has one.
I 100% do. I think it's really interesting that you both chose live action and I sort of went the route of animation. So like, I mean, to your point, Nickelodeon was kind of like this experimental, like weird network that was still trying to find its footing. I think especially in the 90s when it really kind of hit its stride. And especially I think for me, with all of these like weird, surreal, kind of risque masterpieces like Ren and Stimpy, and my pick, which is Rocko's Modern Life, which honestly, the most amazing show ever. All sorts of innuendo, a theme song by the B-52s, Australian accents. Like, could you think of anything more dangerous for your kids to be watching? Like, for those reasons alone. I mean, and like, does it hold up? 100%. Absolutely, yes, it does. I mean, so much so that Netflix, like, just basically made a movie about Rocko, or made a new Rocko movie a few years ago. So yes, absolutely. Rocko was pushing all of the buttons back then and continues to push the buttons. And I just love this show so much. And I just was watching it the other day and it's amazing. The big heads and Heifer and it's just good. Just so good. Did you guys watch?
Rocko's Modern Life. I can only hear it in that dude's voice.
Exactly. He's like the best.
Rocko was one of those shows that I've like vaguely remember because it was always on, but I was never watching. It was one of those shows I would watch to go to sleep, unfortunately. But I know it's iconic. Yes. Everyone still reference it.
So David, it's funny that you said you can only hear the theme song in his voice because the first season it was actually not done by the B-52s, and I realized that the other day when I was like watching it, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like the B-52s, but it actually was a completely different like theme song, slightly like very similar, but slightly different. It wasn't until I think season 2 that the B-52s came in and really amped it up,
Yeah, I think like Rocko was one of those, was like part of like the second wave of Nicktoons, whereas like the first wave was kind of Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. And Doug is one that I really remember fondly. And it's part of the reason now that I want to take road trips so badly, because one of my favorite episodes of Doug is when the whole family takes a road trip to go see the Painted Gorge, which is basically the Grand Canyon. But Doug and Judy keep making them stop to see all these dumb roadside attractions. Like Judy wants to stop to see Blythe Field, which is where her favorite poet composed like her favorite poem. Doug kept having all these visions of all these amazing roadside attractions being grander than they actually were. So he wanted to stop at the Bug Ranch because he imagined himself riding a big beetle through a field, but it was just like a terrarium full of bugs. And then there was one where it was like, stop and see it. You won't believe it. And he imagined going into a cave and there was this giant monster there, but it just ended up being like a little potato in a jar. And yeah, that's why like now I just want to go and see all the weird roadside attractions all along Route 66 or something like that because of Doug.
I love that Doug was the Nicktoon that made you want to travel and not like, the wild thornberries or any of the more obvious choices, like
it wasn't, I didn't get into No, those were like past my time. Like Rocket Power, Cat Dog, Rocco. I was not into the tunes by then. I had moved on to wrestling.
Oh, David.
Sorry. All right. Well, you can check out these shows and more of your 90s favorites by saying 90s stuff into your voice remote. And if you have Paramount Plus, there are so many good shows right now in terms of Nickelodeon classics. There's Hey Dude, there's Guts, there's Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple, all the Nicktoons, Ren and Stimpy. So have a good nostalgic throwback moment and pretend that it's Snick all over again. Snick was a thing, Quam, back in the day. Do you remember Snick?
I don't. I'm glad you explained it to me, though, because I was like, Snick? Is this something?
Snick is Saturday Night Nickelodeon. Yeah. Original Snick was Clarissa Explains It All. Clarissa Explains It All, Ren and Stimpy, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Roundhouse was the first show that ended up getting canceled off of Snick. And it was way too mature for kids. I have no idea how. But like you said, Scott, they were just trying to like figure out who they were still then.
Exactly.
So like,
aren't we all?
It's weird.
Aren't we all?
It's true. It's true. So let's find out now what is trending. The biggest party of the summer comes to Peacock this Saturday, August 21st, when WWE Summerslam airs live from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. This year's highly anticipated matches include Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against John Cena, Bobby Lashley defending the WWE Championship against Goldberg, Bianca Belair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Sasha Banks, and a match most WWE fans thought they'd never see, former WWE Champion Seth Rollins versus the legendary Rated R superstar Edge. And speaking of Edge, you can join a live Q&A with the WWE Hall of Famer himself during an exclusive experience tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern by saying "Watch with" into your Xfinity voice remote. Edge returned to the ring in January 2020 after retiring in 2011 due to severe neck injuries. It was a moment that shocked WWE fans and will go down as one of the greatest returns in wrestling history. And since I'm not one to pass up an opportunity to talk about wrestling on What to Watch Live, we decided to reflect on some of our favorite superstars and shockers, starting with a moment that left a mark on me when I was a kid. The Rockers were one of the most exciting and popular tag teams of the late 80s and early 90s. But heading into the holiday season of 1991, in-ring egos and real-life backstage drama began to take a toll on the relationship between Shawn Michaels and Marty Gianetti. On January 12, 1992, Brutus the Barber Beefcake invited the duo onto his barbershop talk show to patch things up between the longtime friends, but the Heartbreak Kid had other ideas when he suddenly super-kicked Gianetti and tossed him through the barbershop window. Despite the betrayal, it was the moment I fell in love with professional wrestling and Shawn Michaels as a performer. It was the moment that set Shawn up to be a solo star as he won his first Intercontinental title just 10 months later, and he would ultimately go on to be regarded as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And you can see it right over there. This way. One of the best parts of this is Shawn Michaels held up a magazine and said, "Is there trouble with the Rockers? I don't think so." And he ripped the magazine in half. Just classic wrestling badassery and betrayal. It's just awesome.
Shawn Michaels is like
totally
the ultimate badass.
100%, obviously. I'm so glad that you pointed out that this was a barbershop, because when I was watching this clip, I thought it was just a Christmas decoration set.
Like the North Pole
candy canes, because you said it was a holiday match, so I was like, oh, this is all making sense. They really went in for this. Good for them.
One thing I'll also point out that I love about this clip is just the classic commentary of Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Gorilla Monsoon playing the good guy, Bobby the Brain always sticking up for the heels. And when Shawn throws Marty through the barbershop window, Bobby the Brain Heenan says, "Look at Gianetti. He's trying to escape out the window. What a coward." No, we got tossed through. Anyway.
Perception is reality, David.
It's true. For Bobby the Brain, all the bad guys were in the right. Quam, I know you have a favorite wrestler, favorite wrestling moment. Could you tell me about it, please?
Well, my favorite wrestler, besides, Kane and some of the other legends, is Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio was such an underdog because he was, undersized compared to most of the other wrestlers, but he never gave up. He always showed so much heart. And, he had, I think one of the most iconic finisher moves with the 619. It's such a awesome combination of athleticism and creativity that you really haven't seen before. You see a lot of finisher moves and they all kind of look somewhat similar to each other, but the 619 was something special. It was of its own ilk. And then I love that as the finisher to the finisher, he does body flops on people. I think that's so hilarious. He just jumps and it just falls on people. It's in the moment when I was a kid watching it, I thought it looked so epic. But looking back on it, I was like, this looks so hilarious how he just body flops on people. But Rey Mysterio is an icon. He's a legend. He's just the face of underdogs everywhere. And I think he is a legend. And I don't know. I'm glowing about Rey Mysterio right now. I'm having a fanboy moment.
Rey is one of those guys who's he's one of the longest tenured professional wrestlers right now in the major leagues of sorts. And I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think we ever saw his greatest work in WWE. He was, I think, at his peak as a cruiserweight in WCW, wrestling Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, Juventud Guerrera, some of those guys. And you can see all of those on Peacock and the WWE Network. Rey Mysterio has a massive catalog. But he did manage to reinvent himself with the 619 and with these, he does different themed costumes. He's really become a favorite with kids and sells a ton of merchandise and has had this long, incredible career. And like you said, went from being this cruiserweight to wrestling in the heavyweight division and winning the world heavyweight title in WWE. So he's done so much right. And now he's wrestling with his own son, Dominic Mysterio. They have a match at SummerSlam. It's just incredible to see two generations of Mysterios and see them together in the ring. It's pretty amazing.
That is really amazing. Full circle.
Yeah. Scott, I am so excited to hear about your pick for your favorite wrestler.
Do I have a pick, David? Oh, yes, I have a pick. I do. Right. So, of course, I'm going to pick somebody who's not even I guess in this particular character was not wrestling. It's professional wrestling manager and licensed funeral director, Pallbearer. I mean, this guy was everything I wanted out of wrestling. All of the drama, the camp, look at that, obviously dyed black hair and eyebrows and the white painted face. It's everything. And I mean, he carried around this urn, right, that could summon supernatural powers, from these cremated ashes. He gave Undertaker all of his powers. It's in very much the same way that a gay can summon powers from a cold brew or a vodka soda. So I feel at home with him. He sees me, I see him, together, we're going to get through this. We're clutching our superpower and we're going to get through this together. And I mean, is there really anybody better than Pallbearer? I mean, come on, seriously. Go ahead. I'll wait. No, nothing. That's what I
No,
exactly.
Nothing.
That's what I love. I mean, he was a wrestler, obviously, before this character. He played Percy Pringle III, and actually was wrestling during that time. But I just kind of love that he was always there in the background. And the managers, to me, were kind of somewhat more interesting than the wrestlers in many ways, just because they were always giving you the most. They were the people in the background who were giving you all the theater and the drama and just keeping it interesting for people who maybe weren't into all of the beat 'em ups. So yeah.
Beat 'em up.
And I mean, you know who my second choice was, but
Goldust.
Goldust, obviously. Come on, but let's just hone in on Pallbearer. Kwam, I like to David's question. I want to know if you know anything about Pallbearer.
Barely. My time with the Undertaker was after Pallbearer, so I really didn't, grow up on him. But just seeing these clips, I can only imagine how iconic this person was.
He was, and go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say some of my favorite moments from the WWE was when Teddy would come out and be like, "Hold on there, player." Like that's like my iconic quote to me.
Teddy Long, bugging and bugging. Let me holla at you, player.
Yeah.
Well, he also had like a whole thing with the Undertaker where you can look up like a mashup where Teddy Long always came out and made it a one-on-one match versus the Undertaker. Or it's going to be a tag team match. Yeah. So Pallbearer was so great. I mean, he was so great for so many reasons, but like I totally, as you said, miss the era of wrestling managers. And they worked because wrestling managers were paired with guys who couldn't talk, who didn't have either the voice or the mic skills to get themselves over. That's why, like in recent memory, guys like Paul Heyman were paired up with Brock Lesnar, who just couldn't talk at all. And he continues to be paired up with guys like Roman Reigns, who's gotten much better, but initially needed someone to do the talking for him. And that's why Paul was so great. And he was so synonymous with The Undertaker and that character and that gimmick that when he turned on The Undertaker and went to Mankind, it was a legitimately crushing moment to see this longtime literal father-son relationship, as we later found out with Kane, just the ridiculousness of pro wrestling. But it just like broke your heart that, oh my God, there's going to be no more Pallbearer and Undertaker. But interesting point about the urn that you mentioned. I once met Pallbearer and asked him, I mentioned to him one of my favorite moments in wrestling, which was when Royal Rumble 94, I believe, and all these guys came down to turn on The Undertaker to help Yokozuna win a casket match. And there was an urn, and it got tipped over. Mr. Fuji attacked Pallbearer. The urn tipped over, and green smoke poured out, which was releasing The Undertaker's powers. Pallbearer told me that there was a chemical substance in there to create that smoke that caused such a heat reaction that it burnt the palm of his hands holding the urn throughout that match, and said that he had to go back and had to ice them because it actually burnt his hands on this urn. And he was the nicest guy, totally sweet, down to talk about all your childhood memories. So rest in peace, Pallbearer. Legitimately. Poor Paul. Well, that was a downer. Remember, you can check out the live Q&A with Edge tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern by saying watch with into your voice remote. And don't miss SummerSlam on Peacock this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern by saying SummerSlam on Peacock into your voice remote. And from Pallbearer in the ring to Pallbearers on your television, it's time for Xfinity Hangouts. This Sunday, August 22nd, Epix debuts a brand new horror drama series entitled Chapelwaite. Based on the Stephen King short story Jerusalem's Lot, the series follows Captain Charles Boone as he and his 3 children relocate to a family home in the small town of Preacher's Corner, Maine. Unfortunately, they are not welcomed by the locals, who believe the Boone family and their home, called Chapelwaite, carry a dark curse that has plagued the town for generations. The series stars Oscar winner Adrien Brody as Captain Boone and Schitt's Creek star Emily Hampshire as an aspiring author and the new Boone family governess. I recently sat down with Adrien Brody to discuss the unsettling new series. Let's take a look.
I hear you're looking for a governess.
We are. Your family has a reputation. Your children Are they Christian?
Some blame Chapelwaite for the illness in town.
The Boons are surrounded by misfortune.
Father, are we safe here?
Once the people see that there's nothing to fear, this animosity will diminish.
Unless there is something to fear.
So I've seen the first few episodes of Chapelwaite, and I'm really, really loving it so far. And I know actors often have to conquer fears or step out of their comfort zones to film horror films or shows. What did you have to overcome for this series?
There was a very intimate relationship with worms, obviously. That's the first thing that comes to mind. We, of course, use real worms, and I've had to bathe with them and have... I opted to have real worms inserted into my nose, and there were all those things. Those were tangible things that I definitely had to overcome. But it's a very exciting story. I mean, Chapelwaite was a real thrill to be a part of, and it's very spooky. And I love the way that they incorporate all of these things that are, I think, challenging for most people to contend with. And I have some weird perverse pleasure in enduring that, to share that with the audience and make it feel real and compelling.
It's very effective. Like, I can say that after watching it. It works. So, as I mentioned, Chapelwaite is based on a 1978 Stephen King short story called Jerusalem's Lot, but it was actually the second time he wrote about the town of Jerusalem's Lot. In 1975, King published his second novel, a vampire story called Salem's Lot, which was set in the same town, and it just so happens that Salem's Lot was also the first Stephen King novel I ever read as a young teenager, so I have very fond memories of this story because it actually kind of made me want to read. Like, I had read before, but this was like one of the first real adult novels I had ever read and was totally enthralled by it. So I'm wondering if either of you were Stephen King fans or remember your first experience with his books. And I'm going to start with Scott because I know you're a horror fan.
Yes. So I wasn't going the books route here, but like,
okay.
Stephen King tempted to say, like, first off the top of my head, Maximum Overdrive, but where that comet comes in and it, like, makes all of the like cars, basically anything that's like, what is it, automobiles and like electronics, they all come to life and start killing people, which like starring Emilio Estevez, stunning, everything great. And the weird like Green Goblin truck that like still gives me nightmares. But no, I think what I really landed on here was like a toss up between Carrie or Misery, like both kind of highlight female killers who are like ruthless and amazing. But also like both feature really iconic moments. Like, who can forget Kathy Bates with that sledgehammer, and then, or Sissy Spacek getting, doused in blood. Like, those two things like are forever in my mind, especially like a horror fan. So Stephen King gave those to me. So yeah, that's my memory or most memorable moment.
I remember recently seeing something on Twitter where people didn't realize there's a Family Guy spoof of Misery where Stewie plays the Kathy Bates character. And there were people online who had no idea that was a parody of a Stephen King movie or book and just thought it was something Family Guy did on their own.
That was
okay.
It's tragic. So with that in mind, Kwam, do you have any Stephen King memories?
Well, as I just admitted, not too many. I mean, I think my first memory is like all kids my age was the It shows or It series, miniseries that came out like in the late 90s. And I literally only watched probably like 10, 15 minutes of it because I got scared. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I do not want to be afraid of clowns. But I guess my most fondest memory of a Stephen King adaptation is The Mist. and it's not really for like all the best reasons, but I just for some reason have such a fond memory of that movie. And I'm talking about the movie, obviously. And I don't know why. I just like the movie itself. It's one of those guilty pleasures that I just love to turn on and watch and have a good time. So definitely The Mist is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah. David, I have a question for you. So, I mean, in your interview, Adrien Brody was like, put actual worms up his nose for this role. Is that something you would ever consider doing, like for a role or otherwise? Like, I don't think that I would be
for your fun.
Be okay with putting
for
worms
the
in my
movie.
nose.
For the amount of money he's making, I'll shove whatever he wants up my nose, like cockroaches, worms, ants, like whatever. Like I'll take it.
What if it like goes up and then just like comes out your mouth?
It's super gross. So I saw the first few episodes of the series. It's really, really good, honestly. And I can't wait to see where it goes next. But they do use, like he mentioned, those practical effects where clearly he's pulling a giant fat worm out of his nose. He's in a bathtub with them. And I mean, we talk about this all the time, like practical effects or bust. Like that's just awesome. But 100%, stick all the worms up my nose. How about you? No?
No. No. I mean, I don't. I'm like kombucha lady on this one. I'm like, like maybe. I don't know. Maybe if the money is right. Maybe, I guess. Quam, what about you?
I'm in your boat. If the money is right, and also it depends what it is I'm sticking up my nose. David said anything up to cockroaches. I don't know about that one, Chief. Worms. It's not as bad, And honestly, I think it coming out your mouth will probably be a lot more, I guess, better than it coming back out your nose. I don't know.
I disagree with you on that one.
Disagree?
You would have to like go completely
so
away
much worse.
and then dangle into your mouth and.
But you gotta like spit it out. Imagine like if a worm got stuck in your nose, you just gotta like yank it out. Ugh. That I don't know.
Yeah. Well. Something for Halloween. I'll stick a worm up my nose for Halloween right here on this show.
There you go. Perfect chapel way costume. Just get some gummy worms and hang it from your nose. It's perfect.
Great chapel weight cosplay. Oh, Epix is going to be so happy. So you can check out my full interview with Adrien Brody where we talk about all the worms plus other stuff in the What to Watch Live playlist on Xfinity's YouTube channel later this week, or say what to watch into your voice remote. And as always, before we head out for the week, we are here to help you plan ahead. In this week's premieres, Sandra Oh goes back to school, zombies take one last ride, and several immaculate outsiders try to replace The White Lotus as this summer's must-see series about people at a resort. And Quam is here to tell us all about it. Quam?
9 Perfect Strangers is a brand new show from Hulu. This series takes place at a boutique health and wellness resort where we meet 9 stressed city dwellers. The resort promises healing and transformation as the resort's director is on a mission to reinvigorate their tired minds and bodies. 9 Perfect Strangers is coming to Hulu on August 18th. Season 2 of Aquafina is Nora from Queens is on the way. This sitcom follows a 20-something woman named, you guessed it, Nora, who is living in, surprise, Queens, New York, and is striving for a larger-than-life existence. With help from her dad and grandmother, Nora navigates young adulthood in the Big Apple with her cousin by her side. Season 2 of Aquafina is Nora from Queens is set to return on August 18th on Comedy Central. The Chair is a new dramedy series starring Sandra Oh as the newly appointed chairwoman of a collegiate English department. While she is the department's first female chair, there appears to be a scandal brewing at the university that makes O's character question why she was promoted to her new position. Was she brought in as a patsy? And can she navigate the unique challenges of being the first chairwoman, along with being one of the few staff members of color? The Chair is coming to Netflix on August 20th. The 11th and final season of the long-running show, The Walking Dead, is a stagger step away. If you are somehow unfamiliar with The Walking Dead, let me fill you in. This series follows a group of survivors as they try to stave off a world overrun by the living dead. As the group fights to stay alive, they soon realize it isn't the zombies they have to worry about, but actually it's the other living survivors. The final season of The Walking Dead is set to premiere on August 22nd on AMC. Cut back and hang loose as The Ultimate Surfer is coming to ABC. The Ultimate Surfer is a surfing competition show that is sure to teach all Barneys a thing or two. The show will feature top up-and-coming surfers as they train and battle it out to become the top surfer. It will be hosted by former NFL player Jesse Palmer and will feature surf champion Kelly Slater as its lead consultant. So hang on and try not to bail out. The Ultimate Surfer will premiere on August 23rd on ABC.
And we've also got a slew of exciting season finales to tell you about, and who better to give us that rundown than our boy Scott. Scott?
The first season of the newest addition to the CW superhero universe, Superman and Lois, wraps up tonight, August 17th. The season finale picks up with the big bad, a rogue Kryptonian played by English zaddy Adam Rayner, kidnapping and brainwashing one of Superman's sons. From the looks of the trailer, the finale is set to end with an epic battle for Smallville and, of course, the planet itself, because global warming apparently wasn't moving fast enough. And just a quick note here for Adam Rayner. If the kidnapping of Superman's son doesn't pan out, as I expect it won't, just know that I'm here. You can come kidnap me anytime. The 7th and final episode of the series American Horror Stories drops on Thursday, August 19th on Hulu. The new anthology series from Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk notably had the most successful launch of any FX on Hulu series to date, and for those unaware, features a different horror story each episode. The final episode, titled Game Over, will follow a couple dared to spend a night in one of the most infamous haunted houses. What could possibly go wrong, right? And for fans of the series who are sad to see this one coming to an end, fret not. FX just announced that they've ordered a second installment of the series, not to mention the 10th installment of the original American Horror Story franchise. AHS Double Feature will drop next Wednesday, August 25th, so you'll have plenty of blood and guts to keep your cup full as we head into spooky season. If haunted houses aren't scary enough for you, maybe check out the History Channel's hit survival series Alone, which wraps up its 8th season on Wednesday, August 19th. This season, contestants were left in the Canadian wilderness equipped with just 10 items and a camera kit, and they attempt to survive in total isolation with the hopes of lasting the longest and winning the $500,000 prize. Girl, $500,000? No ma'am. With all the random game shows you can go on nowadays and win millions of dollars for just standing in an air-conditioned studio with craft services, why would this be your choice? Like, seriously, tell me. I'd really like to know. On to another situation I hope to never find myself in. On Friday, August 20th, the hit reality show Love After Lockup wraps up its 3rd season on WeTV. This show gives the phrase ball and chain a whole new meaning. See what I did there? Bad jokes aside, the series follows the lives of 6 couples as they meet their potential future spouses for the first time upon prison release. Expect a lot of awkwardness as couples jump straight into dating, meeting the family, and experiencing other first-time nerve-wracking moments. And finally, on Sunday, August 22nd, CNN's 8-part docuseries History of the Sitcom comes to an end. Throughout its run, the series has touched on the various themes of situational comedies, such as classlessness, diversity, and fish-out-of-water stories, and what the popularity of these shows can tell us about the ever-changing face of America. The 8th episode, aptly titled Escaping Reality, explores what sitcoms offer an escape from or to, and what that reveals about the state of the American mind, as well as the state of the sitcom form itself. And that does it for finales, so let's throw it back to everyone's favorite TV dad, David.
Thank you, Scott. If I'm everyone's favorite TV dad, who are my TV kids?
The viewers.
Aww. Okay. So, well, that will do it for this week's show. Special thanks to Chapel Waite star Adrien Brody for hanging out with us. And an even bigger thanks to my fellow Xfinity editors, Scott and Kwam, for joining me today. Remember to check out the live stream with WWE Superstar Edge tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern by saying "Watch With" into your voice remote. And next week, we will be joined by very special guest and star of AMC's The Walking Dead, Lauren Cohen, who will be chatting with our resident zombie hunter and doomsday prepper, Rose. If you want to check out the shows we talked about today, get more of our entertainment recommendations, or watch us interview big celebrities, just say what to watch into your voice remote or tune in here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern for a new episode. My name is David. Thank you for joining us on What to Watch Live.